if you love me.
Welcome back to my channel. This is MBTI Gifts. I'm Dan, and today we're going to be talking about INFJ career recommendations. And as usual, I have a chart for you to look at. So let's jump right in. Step 1 is survive to age 16. Now you've survived to age 16, but I have a question for you. Do you know what you want to do with your life? If the answer is hell yes, then go do that. You don't have to watch any more of this video. Your 40 seconds of time, I'm sorry that I wasted it, but if you don't know what you want to do with your life, that's what this video is for. So stick it out to the end because I'm going to make a lot of recommendations along the way. The first question I have for you is, do you have a passion for working with people every day? And if you do, we're going to talk about some recommendations, but if you don't, there's a bunch more recommendations. So you can either skip ahead to the no, or stick with me now, or we're going to go to yes. Regularly working with people. So how do you feel about touching people? Are you okay with it? Could you touch people every day? If you could, do you want to become a physician? If not, you could become a massage therapist. If you do, well, then my next question would be, do you want to work with families or one-on-one? If you want to work with families, you could become a family physician. But if you want to work one-on-one, I would ask you this question. Do you want to help people recover their nutritional health, their physical abilities, or their communication abilities? If you want to help people with their physical abilities, you would be best suited for a physical therapist. If you were trying to, if you wanted to help people with their nutritional health, you would become a nutritionist. Or if you wanted to help people communicate better, you could become a speech pathologist. Well, what if you don't like touching people, though? Well, there's still plenty of options. Do you enjoy public speaking? If you do, I would ask if you want to work with just adults or all ages. If adults, then you could become a corporate trainer. If all ages, you could become a public health educator. What about practicing medicine? You could become a clinical psychologist if you want to. Or what about working for a company, or having your own practice, or working in the field? Do you have a preference in any of those? If you'd like to work for a company and you find safety in that, then you could work in human resources. If you'd like to create your own practice or start your own project, you could become a counselor or a therapist. Oh, or if you'd like to work in the field, you could go into social services. Now, if you can't, if you don't have a passion for working with people every day, then my next question would be, can you tolerate working with people occasionally throughout the day? If your answer is still no, there's still options for you, and that's working alone. So, do you want to spend your workday at home or in nature? If you want to spend it in nature, I would ask if you're artistic. If you are, you'd be a good fit for a wildlife photographer. If you're not, and you enjoy research, you could become a wildlife researcher, or if you don't enjoy research, you could become a park ranger. Spend all your time in the great outdoors. What about if you'd prefer to sit at home, like which I do? So, well, do you want to work at a computer all day? I do, but some people don't want to do that. If you don't want to do that, and you're not artistically talented, you could cook illegal drugs with your old high school chemistry teacher and have him teach you what art is. But if you are artistically talented and you're funny, you could become a freelance cartoonist. But if you're not funny, but you prefer to work with raw materials, you could become a freelance sculptor. Or if you prefer paint, you could become a freelance muralist. But what if you do want to work at a computer all day, or you're okay with that? Are you more gifted in writing or the arts? If you're more gifted in the arts, perhaps sculpture, you'd be a good freelance 3D modeler, or if you were more into design, you could be a freelance web designer, perhaps graphic designer. But what if you're more gifted in writing? Well, do you prefer writing or editing? If you prefer editing, you could become a freelance copy editor. If you're better at writing, then I would ask, would you rather write about things or write code? If you'd like to write code, you could become a freelance front-end web developer. If you'd like to write about things, Then I'd ask, would you rather write about real or fictional things? If real things, you could become a freelance copywriter. Or if fictional things, you could become a freelance creative writer. So what about working occasionally with people? How does that pan out? Occasionally working with people. Well, first thing I would ask is, do you prefer to use your creativity, your logic, or both? Because there are gigs that focus on all three of those different things. If you prefer to work with your creativity most of all, do you prefer the visual arts or film? In the case of film, you could become a filmmaker, but in the case of visual arts, I would ask, do you enjoy working at a computer all day? Which is kind of like what we asked in the work alone situation. If yes, you would probably do well as a graphic designer, web designer, digital illustrator. But if not, it might depend on whether you prefer art or photography. If you prefer art, you could become a commercial artist, or if you prefer photography, you could become a freelance photographer. Now, what if you prefer logic? Well, are you gifted in STEM? If not, does writing code sound appealing to you? If it does, you could become a front or back-end web developer. But if not, and you are the type that prefers to organize, maybe you'd be better as a librarian, but if you prefer research, you could become a genealogist. I did have a librarian message me about this chart and mention how there is a lot of research involved in being a librarian. So I just want to point that out, that being a librarian isn't just about organization. There's a lot more to it, apparently. So that was news to me, but I'm happy to pass that on to you, that there is a lot more to being a librarian than just organization. Now, what if you're gifted in STEM? Well, are you interested in living people or dead people? If you're more interested in dead people, you might make a good forensic scientist. But if you're more interested in living people and you have a greater interest in biology, then perhaps you'd make a good medical researcher. Or if you have more interest in behavior, you could become something of a social scientist. Now, what about when you want to use both your logic and your creativity at the same time? Well, do you want to write code? If yes, you could become a UX developer, user experience. If not, and you don't have any debate skills, or that's not what you want to do, you could become a UX architect or a UX designer, and then you can see that a number of paths here can lead to UX director if you stick it out. If you do have debate skills and you're interested in helping the environment, you could become an environmental attorney. But if you want to help people, you could become a legal mediator, or perhaps go into, well, I hesitate to say family law because lawyer probably wouldn't be a good role for an INFJ, so stick with legal mediator. So thanks for watching. I will include a link to this chart in the description below. I hope that you will subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. Thanks very much for watching, and have a good day.